It's really great. I mean, it was wonderful coming here 13 years ago with my first film, but to close the festival is a huge honor. And the fact that, growing up in London, I always appreciated what a big cultural event Edinburgh was for the UK. And I'm very happy that the festival is up on its feet and moving forward. Yeah, so the lead is played by Anaita Walizada, who is 20, she's 23 now, she was 22 at the time, and she's from Afghanistan. So when we were making the film, casting the film, the pool of, let's say, professional Afghan actresses is very limited in North America. It was a small number of people. So we did an open casting call for on social media and also through Afghan community centers saying what we're looking for. And we got some callbacks, and I met young Afghan women who had no experience in acting via video call. They're based all around America, Arizona, Oklahoma, New York. And most of them were second generation Afghans. And then suddenly Anaita sent an email saying, hi, I'm Anaita, I'm 22. I left Afghanistan 5 months ago on one of those evacuation flights when the Taliban returned in August 2021. I've never acted before, but I'm interested. So I got on a video call with her, and immediately her presence, there was something about her which was really very impressive. And like I said, she was very honest. She said, I'd never acted before, and my English is not great. And most of the film is in English. But she was so determined, and then she told me her own story, like I said, about leaving Afghanistan, leaving her family behind, all those things. And so much of it was quite similar to the character she was going to play. So yeah, she came over to Oakland, which is where we're in California, which is where we're doing pre-production, and she was really incredible. We were very, very lucky to have found her. A friend of hers actually passed it on to her. A friend of hers had seen it, I think, on a Afghan community center post in the Washington, D.C. area, because she was resettled in Maryland. And she had come with her older sister on those flights, like leaving the rest of the family behind. And yeah, and she just was so, the whole cast and crew really took to her. And I think her relating to the character really brought a lot to the film for us. I mean, my second feature film was also shot in the Bay Area. And up to that point, I knew about San Francisco, Oakland, Berkeley, San Jose. I had no idea about the city of Fremont. Which is it's on the East Bay. But while they're shooting Radio Dreams, my second film, I found out that it actually is home to the biggest Afghan community in America. So I went there back then just to have Afghan food and things like that. But then I found out about the presence of former translators living there. And then I read articles about former translators for the U.S. military who had been resettled in Fremont, but also in Northern California and Sacramento and elsewhere. But there was a large community in Fremont. And I spoke to a lot of the translators. And so doing the story about, let's say, a former translator, it made sense that it was in a city like Fremont, which is home to such a big population of Afghans. Well, the people who acted in the film have seen it, but we haven't showed it. Next week it's getting released in America, and we are screening it in Fremont. So the local community will come see it. I have no idea. I hope they will like it, but they know about it, and they were very supportive. The whole city was very welcoming. It's a really the city itself is a very peculiar place because I envisaged it as a commuter town, a place that just serves for people to live there and commute to San Francisco to work. But in a lot of ways, it's a microcosm of the Bay Area as a whole, in that there's just so many different types of people living there, different communities that have lived there for generations. Besides I already mentioned the Afghan community, there's also a large Indian community, Chinese community, Taiwanese community. And so living quite peacefully side by side. And I think, I'm very happy we shot there. So this being my fourth film as a director, I've done quite a few festival rounds. And I think the role of a festival is crucial. I think in the sense that oftentimes you get to see films that unfortunately you don't get to see outside the scope of a festival because they don't get distribution. and it's getting harder and harder to get distribution, theatrical distribution. The introduction of streaming has, I suppose, helped and not helped, because sometimes you have a lot. Before you used to say straight to video, and now you have straight to streaming. But I think people should still see a film on a big screen, and I think a festival, provides for that. And particularly in the UK, places like Edinburgh, I think, are crucial for that, because it's been around such a long time. And I think when I was in film school, for example, in London, Edinburgh was a festival where you thought, okay, it would be so amazing if my film is showed in Edinburgh, kind of, and large numbers of audiences come to these cinemas where, to these screenings. Whereas, much the same as a lot of other large festivals, or even smaller, more specific, specialized festivals, it provides for a chance for people to see films which otherwise would have gone under the radar. And I think it is, the spirit of making a film independently is in the hope that people will see it, because you're not going to get the audiences of Spider-Man or Star Wars, and they'll continue making Star Wars until they've made 3,000 of them, and people will still for some reason go see them. But I think there's a lot of interesting, diverse films being made from all around the world. How often do you say you can go to a festival, see a film from Kazakhstan, a film from Burkina Faso, a film from Ecuador, and all in the space of a short time. So I think that's, when I was younger, I used to go to the London Film Festival often to see films that I never saw come out in the cinemas. No, exactly. I think precisely. Just before we used to have theatrical releases, then you got a DVD release. It was nice to have a DVD copy of your film, or any film for that matter. Now, I guess it goes from, if you're lucky enough to get theatrical cinema release, then eventually goes to streaming. But most films are just going direct to streaming, and I think it's a bit of an anticlimax, I think, and also because a lot of times it gets lost in those streaming channels, because the bigger ones, at least, they're mass producing so many films that just to even search for a film on those things is completely confusing for me, and and the stuff that comes up on their main page is just, less said. Yeah.